Modern migration and immigration are reshaping nations as people move for better jobs, safety, and new opportunities. Hello, wonderful attendees. I'm your host, Dalvinder Kaur from lovely Professional University. Get ready to dive into today's topic that is beyond borders, understanding contemporary migration and immigration trends. Before we proceed further, allow me to introduce the experts of the day. Dr. Nong Singh, Assistant Professor, School of Social Sciences and Languages, Lovely Professional University. With extensive experience in teaching and research, his expertise spans international relations and comparative politics. He holds a PhD from Jawaharlal Nehru University and has published numerous articles and book chapters. So I would like to introduce Dr. Ambarish Kumar, Assistant Professor, School of Social Sciences and Languages, Lovely Professional University. He has a rich academic background with the Masters and MPhil in Political Science and recently completed PhD on separation of powers and political institutions in Russia. His research focuses on democracy and political institutions and has presented at numerous national and international conferences. So now I would like to introduce Dr. Minhaz Ahmed, Assistant Professor, Department of Political Science, K.R. Mangalam University. His expertise includes Japan's geopolitics and security. Dr. Khan has presented at numerous international conferences and has been awarded multiple fellowships. So I would like to introduce the admission nominee also in this webinar, Mr. Mohammed Saeed CP, working as senior officer in Lovely Professional University with over 5 years of experience in the field of career counseling and guidance. He assists 1,000 plus students and navigating their career paths and providing support to help them achieve their career goals. Before we proceed further in today's session, I would like to request everyone for any questions that you can write in the chat box or in the Q&A box, and same will be addressed from my side at the end of this webinar. And now I hand over the thanks to Dr. Nong, Dr. Ambarish Kumar, and Dr. Minhaz. And it would be an absolute delight to listen from all of you. Over to you, all of you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Dalvinder, for such a generous introduction. Today, I'll just start with the topic, and I'll just give a brief introduction about what is migration and the immigration, and what are the factors which are, responsible for this phenomenon called the migration. And later on, Dr. Goda will follow. And the main part of the speech will be delivered by Dr. Minaz. He will talk about the case of Japanese migration and immigration. So first, what is migration and the immigration? Both this concept has been debated in the academic discourse for a long time. And the migration, we all know that it's a phenomenon which has been going on over the centuries, and it's a part of human civilization. And today, the level and the intensity and the pattern of migration has been, intensified because of the globalization and other factors. But migration as a phenomenon has been, going on over the centuries. So, what actually is the migration? The term or concept migration has different interpretation and definitions given by various scholars. There has been no universally accepted definition, but in general, migration is defined as the movement of people from one place to another. But not all forms of movement are migration. For example, people coming as refugees, they are not migrants. For example, there are many Tibetans in India who comes from Tibet and settling in India. They are not considered as migrants. What distinguishes migrant and refugees is that migrants, they can return to their place, the original place, safely, but the refugees can't because of the political pressures and so on and so forth. But migration basically is the movement of population people from one place to another for a permanent or semi-permanent, settlement. And migration, we have a different categories of migrations. Broadly, it can be classified into internal and the external migration. So internal migration is basically happens within the country, and if this migration happens, across the national state boundaries, then it is called the external migration, what we call as the immigration. And as I said, this migration has been going on for centuries since the beginning of human civilization. That Indians has been going abroad to, for example, in Southeast Asia, in Indonesia, Malaysia, there is a sizable Indian population over there. And to India also, many people from Arabs, from Africa, they have been come and settled. Parsis, for example, have been Jews have been coming to India for a since a long time, and they are settling in the India even today. So what I'm trying to say is that it is a part of human nature. Migration is a human activity. But over the period of time, the pattern of migration has changed. The intensity of migration has changed. With the advent, for example, with the advent of the shipping technology, migration increases during the colonial period. And today in the globalization is people are more mobile due to the advancement in communication and transportation technology. People move freely. So, the intensity of migration is increasing, and it is going to increase in the future as well. And today, as per the United Nations report on migrations, roughly around to roughly around 3.6% of the global populations are migrant population, which covers around 280 million peoples. They are migrants. And in India, it is also very significant because India is one of the largest migrant producing countries. Many Indians are settling in the UAE, in the Gulf region, in the United States, Canada, and other parts of Europe. And migration is also very important, significant, because within India also migration is happening from the rural areas to the urban areas. So there are different factors which are the drivers of migrations. Some of the factors are the political factor, it can be economic factor for better opportunity and a better job opportunities. You go to other areas, that is also part of migration. And there are political factors. If your you know area or your state is politically unstable, then you have a tendency to migrate to another area. So there is a push and pull factors which is involved in the process or the phenomenon of uh, migration. But in India, migration is also sometimes a problem, because when people migrate to another area, the host region, for example, when people migrate from North India to South India or Maharashtra, people in the Maharashtra, they have a feeling of anti-migrant sentiment. This is there. Uh, so it's migration as a phenomenon. It provides opportunities, and also it creates a problem in the society. So these are some of the main ideas of what is migration and immigration. As I said, immigration is when migration happen across the border, when you cross the national territorial boundaries. It is called the immigration. So this is the basic idea about the migration. I'll request Dr. Goda to add something on this.
Uh, Thank you, Dr. Singh. Thank you uh, for a wonderful idea that you gave about what migration and immigration it is. And as you can see, in today's world, this issue has bypassed over the national boundaries and it become an international issue. As you can see, issues migration, immigration, these kind of issues. As Dr. Singh said, it was there earlier also. It is not a new fact. But the point is like looking at the in the past 4 and 5 years. So these issues has become a vital fodder stock for many governments and their politics. For example, if you see the Syrian crisis, if you see the crisis in a lot of other countries, So whenever there is a crisis, there is a instability in any of the country, the first and foremost brand faced is by their own people. So to escape such kind of situation, the only option left for them is to go to other country and settle there, and from there it comes the new words like refugees, immigration, everything. So what Nong sir actually said that this issue, it starts with humanitarian from a humanitarian angle. It is an issue that is pretty much relevant, and it is very much important for people to find a safe haven to live a comfortable life, to escape from their harsh reality. But sometimes what happened, as Dr. Nong said, when we try to go to other countries, so there are multiple ways to go to other countries through legal way or illegal way. So what happened when people, when the situation is very dire, very serious, the people don't have that patience to go in a legal way. They take the illegal route to just to escape from that political instability, their own country. For example, the Syrian crisis. If you are seeing, you must be seeing those pictures of the refugees covering the Mediterranean Sea going to Europe. That part of that sea, it is very treacherous. People are dying, they are drowning. Still, people want to take that risk because that is the situation. So, immigration, refugees. So this issue is now, it has become a pretty much a humanitarian issue also, because it's, people don't have that option to go through that systematic way, through that legal way, or like that. People want to survive. So when it comes to immigration, you must be seeing the politics happening in currently in UK. The current government in UK, the Rishi Sunak government, is trying to send those immigrants to Rwanda. Okay, that is the new policy of the UK. And you know, another thing is happening in US also. Donald Trump is taking this issue. So the Mexican immigration, the immigration in UK, Europe, so it has become, this issue has become a global phenomenon. Everywhere we are seeing this phenomenon going through here and there. And also, as Dr. Minhaj is going to present a part of this issue, that he has done research in Japan. So it will be very interesting for speakers, for everybody who is listening to this webinar. It will be a quite thrilling experience for everybody to know about what is happening, because we are hearing about the immigration migration within our country, immigration migration in Europe, in the West, in the US, everywhere. So it will be very much a thrilling experience for us to learn from Dr. Minhas about what is happening in Japan. So I will be transferring my call to Dr. Minhas, and I would request Dr. Minhas to present his view about what's going on in Japan and about the immigration related thing. Dr. Minhas, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Amrish. So just give me a second and I'll start sharing my screen. There. Am I audible? I can't hear anything.
Yes, sir, you're audible. Your screen is visible. You can continue.
Sure, thank you. So when we come to talking about immigration, one of the countries that we know is one of the most developed countries, most resistant to immigrants, is Japan. Japan is a country that you can consider to be one of the most homogeneous countries in the entire world. 98% of the country's population belongs to this one ethnic group, which is the Japanese people. Now, when we try and understand the trajectory of immigration in Japan and why Japan is now starting to change its policies to welcome immigrants, we need to look into the cultural context and the historical context of how Japanese social norms, understanding of the culture, and how their laws have changed. Uh, right now, just give me a second. Yes. So when it comes to the phenomena of Uchi and Soto, this is one of the things that strongly defines Japanese sociological norms. Uchi in the Japanese language means the inner circle of what is inside, whereas Soto is means what is outside. Now, when you actually look at the Japanese kanji for the term foreigner, gai, koku, jin, the three characters that are used for gai, the exact character that is used is the one for outside or Soto, and Koku, its country, and Jin, person. So you can see that the term foreign itself is someone who's defined as someone as from the outside. Whereas in Japan, the people who are from the inside consider themselves belonging to the Uchi part. Now, in Japanese cultural norms, sociological norms, Uchi and Soto can be defined in many ways. It can be defined in your family level, it can be defined at your work level, and it can be defined at the national level when it comes to us and the others. And the Japanese identity is very unique in this case. So when you look into the history, this has been prominent in Japanese culture. They norms towards outsiders. It's been there for thousands of years. When you had the Tokugawa samurai period, the Edo period, Japan actually had introduced this entire period called Sakoku, in which the country had engaged in complete isolation from the entire world for 350 years. And during this 350 years, nobody was allowed to enter Japan, except the Dutch were allowed to enter one small little island called Dejima for trade. And even when they entered that island, they had to forego all of the customs, and they were not allowed to enter the mainland proper. And all of this changed around the year 1850 when the American Admiral Perry had started bombing Edo Harbor to force Japan to open up, and that's how Japan opened up. And it's a very long history. But what happened was that as Japan opened up to the entire world, they started westernizing, they started modernizing, they started taking ideas from the West, and this led to a backlash by various conservatives in Japan who were very critical of the West and their sociological norms. And one of these gentlemen was Okura Kakuzo, who wrote this book called Hon no Ocha, the Book of Tea. Now, he had primarily written this to a Western audience, but later, and he had written it in English particularly, but later it was also translated into Japanese, and it became very popular in Japan. And it started to bring about this cultural reassertion. And later on, his book would actually lead to the rise of a very far right ideology called Meishuron Pan Asianism, which would lead to Japan basically entering World War II and trying to, in their words, liberate Asia from the West. And of course, that failed, as we all know. Japan lost the Second World War. And then what happened was that modern Japan was now in a much different state. Now they had to become a proper liberal democracy, and they had to become part of the global order as we know it today. So now let's look at the ethnic composition of Japan. The Japanese population, they make up around 98% of the country's demographic. The Chinese, on the other hand, are the largest minority. They make up 0.6 percentage of the population. And the Koreans make up 0.3 to 0.4. But here, there's a huge difference over here. The Chinese have actually, they're recent immigrants. They have mostly arrived within the last 50 years. The Koreans have a much longer history in Japan that goes to the pre-World War II era. Now, the Vietnamese, they make up about 0.4% of the population, and they're very recent arrivals. They've been arriving in the past 10 years. And of course, there are other immigrants as well. Like, for example, Indians, there are about 6,000 Indians right now in Japan. 4,000 of them live in this particular area of Tokyo called Edogawa. So we also have other non-Japanese indigenous people, like for example, the Ainu, who are from the northern island of Hokkaido. They actually predate the Japanese. They were the original inhabitants of Japan. Then you have the Ryukyuans who live in the Ryukyu Islands. They have mostly become assimilated to the Japanese culture. Then you have the Burakumen, who are basically Japan's version of SCs. Japan also had a caste system, and the Burakumen was still were highly discriminated, and they still face a lot of issues today. Now, one of the biggest issues that has led to Japan being very reluctant to engage in accepting new immigrants is they Korean population, the Zainichi Koreans. Now, Korea was annexed by Japan in 1910, and Japan had become a colonial power. And the Zainichi Koreans had become Japanese citizens. And what Japan started to do during World War II, as their need for labor increased, they forcibly took a lot of Korean immigrants from Korea to Japan to work in their coal mines. And this was done against their will. And there were about 1.2 million Koreans living in Japan during this time. And then suddenly, after Japan surrendered in World War II, there were now Koreans living in Japan. And after the San Francisco Treaty was signed, these Japanese Koreans had lost their Japanese citizenship and they had now become stateless. And they faced a lot of issues until 1991, where they were getting certain privileges, but they still do not have full citizenship. Right now, they're treated as special permanent residents. And only those who marry Japanese citizens are actually entitled to Japanese citizenship. So then, why have there been issues with them? They have been excluded from welfare. Then they were subjected to this very discriminatory practice of being fingerprinted annually, and this is something that Japan would do only to foreigners. But they were also subject to it as well, and this led to a lot of resentment from them. But now it has ended as of 1993. Then they do not have voting rights in Japan either, despite the fact that they pay taxes just like any other person living in Japan. And then they are banned from government jobs, and they also face issues in employment in general. And then when it comes to the Korean schools, now what happens is that when the Zenichi Korean community had started to organize themselves in the 1950s, and a large part of my thesis actually deals with this, they had split into two organizations, Chongryon and Mindan. And Chongryon, which was the biggest organization back then, but now it has become the smaller of the two, uh, was very pro North Korea, and they run most of the Korean schools in Japan today, and even one Korean university. And you can see from this picture itself, this school is in Japan. It's not in Korea. And you can see Kim Il Sung and Kim Jong Il over there, their pictures. These schools, even though they function in Japan, they promote North Korean ideology. And Chongron is an organization that is very adamant against Korean assimilation in Japan. And because of this, it has led to a lot of conflicts and issues with the regular Japanese people. It's very common to see far right Japanese ultra nationalists called Uyoku Dantai outside these schools. Sometimes they even attack these children in these schools. So because of this, because of this particular minority which the Japanese public was very xenophobic towards and did not consider them to be a model minority, Japan had a hostile policy towards accepting immigrants. So, for example, in 1952, they had passed the Alien Registration Act, and this is the act under which people were subject to this discriminatory practice of fingerprinting. And then they started to finally allow refugees in 1982, but they put a lot of restrictions on refugees to the point that most refugees are basically imprisoned when they enter in Japan, and very few of them actually end up getting citizenship or the right to live in Japan. And then in 1990, what happened was that Japan realized that their population started to dwindle because of low fertility rates, which I will come to. And they started to introduce a long-term resident amendment, by which people of Japanese descent living abroad who had at least one Japanese great-grandparent were allowed to come and stay in Japan. And this mainly affected Japanese Brazilians, one of the largest minority groups in Brazil of Japanese descent, and they had come around a century ago. But these Japanese Brazilians are mainly assimilated Brazilian culture. They no longer follow Japanese culture. They're just of Japanese descent. But Japan decided, let's start bringing them back in to fill worker shortages. But this itself was not enough. So they had to start this technical intern training program, which is a very controversial program in the country. So now let me talk about the aging population. Right now, Japan has the highest proportion of elderly to other demographics in the society. 29.1% of Japan's population is age 65 or older, and this is only increasing. Japan was the first developed country to reach a very appallingly low fertility rate, and this happened in the 1980s. And then by 2040, it's expected that the elderly are going to make up 34.8% of the population. And Japan also happens to have very high life expectancy, and this is normally a good thing, but it leads to a proportion of more elderly. And these demographic trends, um, uh, what happens is that the more you spend on the elderly, the more taxes you need to raise, and these taxes are pushed off to the younger people. And because of this, the young are more less likely to get married early, and they are much more less likely to have children, which just exacerbates the problems, and it leads to the population becoming older and declining. So right now, Japan is losing about 1 million people every year from their population. And by 2050, the population is projected to decline to 97 million people. And hence, the Japanese government, the biggest pro-business lobby called Keidanren, they have been very vehement in encouraging immigrants to the country. But like I mentioned, because of cultural norms like Kuchi and Soto and issues with the unmodeled minority, the Zenichi Koreans, the Japanese public has been very reluctant to accept migrants in their country. So now let me come to the economic impacts of an aging population. Like I said, the workforce is shrinking. There are high level of labor shortages. Right now, they're trying to replace these labor shortages with robots and whatnot. They're trying to send some jobs abroad, but it's really not helping. And the GDP growth rate has been coming down. Japan has been facing 3 decades of economic stagnation. Right now, the indicators show that Japan has finally recovered from this conundrum, but it might again reappear if they do not get the immigrants. So what happened is that one of the solutions Japan made was the specific skilled workers program. So what happened was with the technical intern training program, they decided to allow temporary migrants to come in. But these migrants would only be allowed to stay for 5 years with very low wages because technically they're interns, they're not there as regular workers. And it's expected that within 5 years they leave the country. But again, Keidan Ren, which I mentioned is the business lobby, as well as the Japanese government, they wanted to change these policies to make sure that these immigrants stay there much longer. So in 2023, they started this immigration reform bill, and now some of these highly performing immigrants that the companies want to retain on a permanent basis, they're eligible to apply for permanent residency and citizenship. And as of 6, 7 months ago, the first of these people was granted permanent residency. And normally, before, the only way you could get Japanese citizenship as a technical intern was by marrying a Japanese citizen. Now that's no longer necessary. So they've started to expand this program to have also new training system, and they're trying to attract more immigrants. And what the Japanese public has now started to realize is that they can get model immigrants that they actually like from various countries, such as Vietnam and Indonesia. Now, for the past 10, 15 years, there have been a lot of Vietnamese and Indonesians coming into Japan. And the Japanese have realized they actually like these immigrants because these people actually really adore Japanese culture. They are very keen on learning Japanese, and they like assimilating Japanese practices. And the rate of intermarriage, especially with Vietnamese, is very high with Japanese. So they are very welcoming towards Southeast Asians in general. But of course, there's still a lot of challenges. A lot of people in Japan are very scared of losing their cultural homogeneity. So they want Japan to remain Japan. They want the culture to remain. And particularly when I've asked my Japanese friends, they want the monarchy to be respected. So they feel that immigrants cannot have the same level of respect for their monarchy like how the Japanese do. Because in Japan, the monarch is considered to be a direct descendant of Amaterasu, the sun goddess. So, how can an immigrant have that same level of respect when they do not believe in Japanese religious traditions? So, this is a major questions like, will these immigrants and their descendants adore and respect the monarchy just like how the Japanese people do? And then, of course, the Japanese government is very reluctant to accept these policies because they are afraid of losing a lot of their conservative voters, especially those who are elderly. So what they're trying to do is that they're slowly trying to allow immigration, but at the same time they want to create some other alternatives as well. One of these is womenomics. They're trying to encourage women to join the workforce. But unfortunately, this hasn't been very successful because in Japanese culture, women do enter the workforce after they graduate from university or high school. But as soon as they get married, within the first couple of years, they normally leave the workforce so that they can become mothers and be involved in childbearing and child rearing. So this hasn't been a very successful policy. They're also trying to encourage technological innovation such as robotics and AI, but the impact of this has also been very limited as of now. Thank you. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Minas. That was a wonderful presentation. Uh, I would just like to ask maybe a couple of queries, or
Sure.
uh, you know, Japan has largely been a very homogeneous society, and because of the increase in the immigrations, now the society, Japanese society, has been turning into a kind of relatively diverse kind of society. So there is a transformational change in the Japanese social structure. Uh, so how Japanese society is trying to accommodate these social transformation from a homogeneous to a relatively heterogeneous society. So is there
Well, we
any
can.
some conflict going on in the Japanese society?
Well, the conflict right now seems to be mainly restricted to the Zenichi Korean issues, and of course, issues with the Chinese triads who have been operating in Japan as well. When it comes to the other immigrants, such as the Vietnamese, when it comes to the Indonesians, or even the few Westerners who have settled down in Tokyo, the impact of this has been very positive. So the Japanese people have been very accommodating, and the immigrants largely seem to be very happy. And especially when you look at the Indian immigrants who are there, I actually happened to be on one of the WhatsApp groups of the main Edogawa community, and the Japanese outreach to them has been incredible, and they have been very, very happy with the Japanese outreach. And in fact, one of the members of this community, Mr. Yogendra Purane, had contested Tokyo ward elections, and he received 13,000 votes, whereas the Edogawa population is 4,000. So a lot of Japanese had also voted for him, and he won the election. So I would say that the impact has been quite positive.
Okay, and one more thing is that the anti-immigrants feeling, anti-immigrant sentiment, it is spreading all across the world. Even in the United States, Trump was talking about America first, and that sentiment is rising in the European countries also. And can you just tell us about the Japanese experience?
In the Japanese experience, I would say this xenophobia has always been there. Now it is starting to decrease. It is not decreased when it comes to the Zenichi Koreans, especially the ones who are members of Chonryon. And it has not really decreased that much for the Chinese. But although the largest number of intercultural marriages that are happening in Japan are between Japanese men and Chinese women. So the Japanese society seems to have a positive view towards this element. So that element is not an issue. They have a problem with those who are Chinese men who are mainly related to the tribes and whatnot. So I would say the xenophobia still continues with regard to Zenichi Koreans and the Chinese, but the other immigrants, the trend is very positive.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Dr. Minaj, I want to ask just one basic question about recently Japan is taking much more interest in Northeast right now with its investment, everything this currently is going on. Is the real reason behind that is about this immigration or development or its grand strategy? Can you elaborate on that if you?
The number of immigrants who have gone from the Northeast to Japan is almost negligible. I personally know only one person from the Northeast who has immigrated to Japan. So I would say the
Okay,
numbers are very low.
okay,
But when it comes to the Northeast, it's an area which is very important for Japan. Japan considers it to be very pivotal to India's outreach towards Southeast Asia, as well as Japan's outreach towards Southeast Asia. So Japan has been investing heavily in infrastructure over there, in connectivity projects, especially the highway network. And then in other areas as well, such as like in West Bengal, with increasing ports, and in Myanmar as well, to increase India's connectivity. And Japan's main reason behind this is to create a counterbalance towards China's own connectivity projects towards Southeast Asia. So
Yes.
Japan and India are concerned about this. They are concerned about increasing Chinese influence. I would say that the interest in the Northeast is more geopolitical rather than sociological.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Minaz. Over to
Welcome.
you,
Thank you.
Mr. Dalwinder Kaur.
Thank you so much, Dr. Minhas, Dr. Amrish, and Dr. Nong. And now I would request you the admission nominee, Mr. Saeed, to be on the screen. Over to you, Mr. Saeed.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing your valuable insight with us. Good morning, all. See, we have seen different, migration and immigration details over here. So now I would like to share some information about the university regarding, the accreditations rankings and what we provide for our, students, those who would like to join with us, and what we are providing for our existing students also, what kind of facilities and the related the programs we do have, the credit transfers where the students can go and study in abroad also. So these kind of informations I would like to share over here. So first of all, we can check about the universities, rankings, and accreditations. And I would like to share this, wonderful informations with you. University is a NAC A plus university with a score of 3.68 out of 4 scale. And this is among the all the private and government universities among in India. And we do have some other major accreditations also, like ACBSP for the management programs and UGC accreditations for the distance education, and as well as the regular programs also. And we do have an accreditation for the National Council for Teachers Education. That's NCT for, the education programs also. And we do have accreditation for the programs like the pharmacy, that's PCI accreditations, and for architecture, COA. And law program, it's Bar Council Association. And other programs also, where the council approved programs, we do have the particular council approvals. And we do have AICT accreditations for approvals for the online and distance education programs. And along with that, we are the members of the Association of Indian Universities, that's AIU, and International Association of Universities, and other major, associations with the different bodies also, especially in the Indian engineering, the Institute of Engineers also. So an Association of Commonwealth University, that's ACU body from UK. And along with that, we are into the first attempt itself. We are in the top rankings in URI rankings also, and like LP has a global rankings, like it's like out of 100, 1 to 200 rankings. And you can see the other university, those who have participated over here, that's like a MIT, Harvard, and Oxford, and Cambridge University, like the Ivy League universities participated in these rankings, and we got among second ranking over here in the first attempt itself. And other things, I would like to share one more rankings over here, that's ATAL ranking of institution on innovation and achievements. So over here, we got a third ranking, is in the deemed and self-financing universities and private universities from India. And other than this rankings and accreditation, we do support our kids for other extracurricular activities like, sports and cultural events. Over here, you can see the cultural, supports, the results of the cultural supports what we provide for our students. We won the championship in the 37th National Inter-Universities Youth Festival, which is recently happened. And the one more, happiness news I would like to share with you, that's, we all, very grateful, happy with the achievements of, that recent Olympics, which is happened in Japan. So our students, participated in different events in these Olympics events, and they won the medals also. So you can see over their pictures over here, they won the gold medal, silver and bronze medals also. So this is one of the happiness moment for our country, and they made a history for us also. And our students participated in the Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad Trophy, and they won the medals in different games also. And the same members, they participated in 19th Asian Games, and they won medals in different events. Like we all familiar with the Neeraj Chopra. He is also one among them. And other than our kids participated in the boxing and the shooting and different other events also. And other than these extracurricular activities, there are a lot of well-known persons. They used to visit our campus, and they used to interact with our kids, different. So this, interaction used to provide a lot of exposure for our kids. They can understand about their particular areas, how they become successful in their life, and what they can inspire from their life, what they can take from their, personal experience, and all these things. So I would like to share some pictures of the, different well-known persons, those who visited our campus and had an interaction with our kids. The first one is Dalai Lama. We know about him, and the previous Afghan president, and Arun Jaitley, and different other members from different areas, and Shah Rukh Khan, and Deepika Padukone, MS Dhoni, and other also visited our campus. So they had a wonderful interaction with our students, and they can understand about how to become successful and what the important, valuable from, things they can take from their life experience. And I would like to share the campus infrastructure over here, the infrastructure we provide for our kids. This is the auditorium where around 2,000 plus students we accommodate for the different events, the Mac labs, and the world-class library. And we do have our own shopping mall inside the campus where the students can experience all the facilities like food courts, gaming areas, and they can purchase what are their basic necessary things also. And we do have other facilities like gym and other physical activity areas, like indoor stadiums, and all these things are available inside the campus. And we do have gaming areas also. And we'll have on hospital inside the campus where the students can get all the basic, treatments inside the campus, on hospital, and doctors also, and pharmacy also available inside the campus. And university is equipped with, green energy, the renewable energy. You can see solar power plants are, implemented all the, roof of all the, buildings, so it's like university is equipped with, renewable energy, green energy, you can say. This is one of the wonderful picture of the campus. So you can understand about the infrastructure details from these pictures. This is one of the wonderful view of the campus, the night view of the campus. And along with that, already I have mentioned university supports for the extracurricular activities also. So in part of that, university have a wonderful indoor stadium over there. Students can experience, practice different, gaming, different games also. So we have shooting range, and we do have other gaming areas also. We do have wonderful swimming pool, which is having a world-class, standard. It's maintained as a world-class standard, Olympics level. You can we can say like an Olympic level swimming pool facilities also we do have. And now we can check about the live informations about how to apply in university for different programs, or else the credit transfer programs also. So before that, I would like to add one more point. That's along with the infrastructure, we do have residential facilities also inside the campus for the both boys and girls, separate with residential facilities inside the campus. It's based on their requirement, like they can choose apartments, they can choose normal hostels also, based on their requirements. So they can choose a single sharing rooms or double sharing as per their requirements. They can choose. And you can say university is a ragging free campus. And I would like to share one more information, so the final one, how you can apply for the different programs through the university website. Those who would like to join for our university for the different programs, they can visit our university website, that's lpu.in, and all the informations are available in the website, and you can apply online for different programs also. So here you can see the apply now options. You can click over there and you can logo for your applications also with the basic informations. You can fill up your personal information, your academic information, then you can submit your application. And some of the programs, the entrance examinations are mandatory as part of the eligibility also. Over there, you can give the examination and based on the counseling, you will get your preferred programs also. So now we can check about programs over here. So we have programs based on your 10th qualification, 12th, and graduation and PG and postdoc programs are also available. So over here, I'm just going to check some programs over here that you can understand how to apply and how to check about the eligibility and other criteria also. So I'm just going for a program after 12th. You can study 2 years in India and 2 years in abroad also. See, we have 2+2 programs. So once you check like this based on your eligibility criteria, you can see the information of different programs and what's the eligibility criteria. And you can see the tie-ups with the different industries and different universities for foreign education, for studies. And this is the eligibility criteria. You can see over here the basic percentage of marks and what is the eligibility entrance examination, different entrance examination, all these things you can see over here. And you can see about the placement informations, what is the average CTC and the highest packages and the recruiters, those who come to the universities, and the rankings and NIRF rankings and world university ranking. All these things you can see over here. And some of the achievements of the students, which means your seniors. And I have already mentioned that we do have entrance examination. So you can see about the question papers, syllabus, sample questions, and test cities. Test cities means we do have two mode of examination. One is a test center based examination. The students can go to the test center and they can give the examination on the test center itself. Other one is they can go through the remotely proctored model examination. That's online mode. So these informations are available in the website. So you can see the test centers, which is the test centers are near to your city. And you can see the curriculum and some of the major and minors of your particular programs. And you can see the syllabus, which means the semester-wise syllabus you can see over here. And the majors and minors we offer, and the fees and scholarship also provided over here. And the important part, the scholarship which we provide, you can see about the scholarship based on different criteria, based on your previous qualification, based on the entrance examination of ours, that's LPNS examination, based on other national entrance examination, CUT or JE or CAT, MAT, based on your desired program, which national level entrance examination is applicable for you. Accordingly, you can get the scholarships. And we do provide other special scholarships also for the students based on, different criteria like, entrepreneurship, startups, or defense background or sports. And based on the programs, we do provide these kind of, different scholarships and, EWS also we provide. So this is one of the important information. Other things, one more time, I would like to repeat about the application process, how to apply. You can sign up in the university website. And second thing is apply for the entrance examination and you can book your slot for the entrance examination. Then you can appear for the examination. Then the results will come. The final process will be admissions based on your counseling round. So you can see the apply now option over here also. And other important things, you can have a direct counseling or with our counselors by clicking on this option. Then you can have a WhatsApp chat also with the counselors for the major information. And those who would like to, those who are far from the Punjab and they would like to see our virtual tour of the campus also. And if someone would like to have a video counseling with our counselors, they can have a video counseling also. And along with that, we do have offices in almost all the parts of India. We do have counseling offices, so you can have a direct. So how to find out them? You can check LPU in your town option, and you can have a direct, which means a person-to-person interaction with them also, who are available near to the city. And these are the important dates of the entrance examination also. So this from my side, and I would like to conclude from my side. And Dalvinder ma'am, now you can start from your end. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Saeed. As I can see, there's some questions from a participant. Can we take questions, Dr. Ansing, Dr. Amrish, and Dr. Minhas? Can we take questions? Unmute yourself first.
Okay. Okay, ma'am.
Yeah, thanks for giving me chance to address your questions. Megha is asking here, what are the main factors driving contemporary migration and immigration?
So, uh, can you repeat it, the question,
Yes,
ma'am?
I'm repeating the
What are the
question.
main factors
Yeah, main
which
factors
drives?
driving contemporary migration and immigration.
Okay. So there are different drivers of migrations. There are political factor. Economic factor has been one of the main factor which drive the migration process. But political factor is also, for example, in Syria, for example, it's a politically highly unstable. So many peoples, the Syrians peoples, are leaving Syria and going to the Europe, many parts of Europe. So politics is also another factor, and another new factor has been, the environmental factor, change in the environment because of the global warming and the increase in the sea level also influence the people or drives the people to migrate to some other countries. For example, in Indonesia, in Jakarta, there are certain areas in Jakarta where, due to the rise in the sea level, some of the areas have been starting submerging into the water, and people are leaving this that area. And there are many other examples, like there is a very tiny island called Gribalti in the Asia Pacific. And even now, because of the rise in the sea level, the government of the Gribalti has started asking its citizens to start thinking about living to another countries. So environmental factor is another major concern which drives the migration. But apart from that, economic factor has been the prime factor which drives the migration and immigration. And there is another question in the chat box which was about difference between the migration and the immigration. The difference is that migration, as I said, it's a movement of population from one place to another. And if this movement, cross the nation state boundary, for example, if it crossed another country, then it is called the immigration. That is the difference, basic difference. So you can say that immigration is a part of the migration, the whole migration process.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nong. Mr. Saeed, Gurpreet Kaur is asking, my ward is confused between going for a PG or nearby university hostel. Please help in making a choice. It's a very interesting question.
So,
Actually,
okay, sir.
Mr. Saeed, please continue.
okay, I would like to repeat the question one more time.
Yeah.
The one is confused whether to choose
My
the.
ward is confused between going to a PG or nearby university hostel. Please help me in making a choice.
Ma'am, it's up to the parents and students' decision. They would like to stay inside the campus or outside. But I would like to suggest one thing. If you are concerned about your student, the kids' safety and security and the academics, then it's a better option to stay inside the campus, because one thing is very much important. We assure the safety and security of the students inside the campus, and it's like a security, 24 into 7 securities are available inside the campus. And we do have, surveillance cameras also. And there is no ragging also inside the campus. I have, informed the same thing before also. And if the student is very much into the academics, the library is also available till 12 o'clock. In the night time till 12 inside the campus, so they can go to the library and they can access the books also. So that will help them for their academics.
Thank you so much, Mr. Saeed. Adil is asking here, how do political policies influence current migration patterns? Dr. Amrish, Dr. Nong.
Can you repeat that, ma'am?
Yes, sir, I'm repeating. How do political policies influence current migration patterns?
Uh, I think so. The best example right now we can see about it is happening in Canada. That is the reverse migration is happening in Canada. If you see the current trend, after that, because as you know, Canada is a very famous destination for a lot of students who go there for studies, for PR, for residency, for a bright future from India and a lot of other countries. But right now, the after that spat happened between India and Canada over that killing of a person, that spat changed the policies of Canada towards the Indian origin people who are going there for studies. So this change of policy impacted the visa policy, the student visa policy, the PR policy, everything like that. And because of that change of policy, we are seeing this. There is a change in the perspective of the Indian students about residing in Canada or getting a PR over there. Okay, this is one of the thing right now. This is the primary. The second policy, if you are looking at the current Rishi Sunak government in Britain, he is also changing that policy. That is earlier the British policy towards the student visa, towards the migrants were very much liberal. But right now, in this tense political atmosphere, as the current there will be an election happening this year, and this electioneering has impacted the policies of the current government. So they are also doing the same policy like the Canada. They wanted to restrict the number of student visa. They want to restrict the number of immigrants. They want to restrict all these people coming to UK. They feel that this crisis is basically hampering their own economic policy at local level. So these are the policy. These are the examples like how policy. If you see, these are I'm talking about in the global level. If you see in the national level also in India, when when people from a particular state travel to another state for employment or job, this also can be we can talk about from the policy perspective of the individual states also. So basically, these are the policies that impact the immigration.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nong, Dr. Amrish, Mr. Saeed, and Mr. Minhaz. I hope all the participants got the answers from our expert. As we come to the end of this webinar, I want to express my deepest gratitude to our experts for sharing their valuable insights and expertise with us. Your presence, enthusiasm, and active participation have made this experience truly special. Hopefully, the attendees found this webinar to be valuable and will be able to utilize the information for better decision making regarding your admission. If anyone wants to access this webinar again, they can visit our website, that is lpu.in, or can be accessed on YouTube also. Stay connected with us for future webinars. Until we meet again, with the permission of my seniors, I would be signing off this webinar. Take care and goodbye. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.